Cardano's DeFi is getting a massive upgrade. And what's happening now may change the entire landscape of Cardano's DeFi. We may experience billions of dollars of growth in Cardano's TVL, which is going to feed directly towards ADA's price growth. Now, this is not hopium. This is not speculation. That's not what I do on this channel. I keep things real. If I have to criticize Cardano, I'll do that. Even if I get negative feedbacks, I'll still do that. But if there's something very important happening that can change Cardano's future and the price of ADA, I am going to call it out with utmost honesty and reality. And I'm going to back these facts with actual performances from other chains. So this is a video I will suggest that you do not miss. Now, I have been preparing for one video for almost 2 weeks now, and that video is coming out in a few days. But while I was preparing for it, something happened in Cardano's DeFi that feeds directly to that video that I'm going to talk about afterwards. And that is this one tweet. So we have this protocol on Cardano's DeFi called Strike, which offers on-chain perps. They provide yield for liquidity providers, and they have their native token called Strike. Users had the option to stake these Strike tokens to earn rewards. But when users or the holders of Strike tokens, they stake their Strike tokens, these tokens get locked up in smart contracts. So you lose custody of these Strike tokens. They no longer are in your wallet. They get locked up and you earn staking rewards. Now, with this upgrade, what's happening is you can now hold the Strike tokens in your wallet with full custody, and you still get full staking rewards. And it doesn't stop there. You can now use these Strike tokens that you have staked. You can use them in other major DeFi protocols while still earning your full Strike staking rewards. So you have staked your Strike tokens, you are earning rewards, but they're not locked up. You have full custody of these Strike tokens, and you can use these tokens in other DeFi protocols to earn extra yield. So you're earning the normal staking rewards, plus you're also getting extra rewards for using these Strike tokens in these protocols. Now, these are the protocols that are supported for now, but they will be adding more soon. Now, this is one protocol, and this protocol is at number 12 in terms of TVL on Cardano. They have $1.7 million in TVL. And according to them, over 40 million ADA value is now unlocked and ready to be deployed without sacrificing any staking yield. Now, you must be questioning, 40 million ADA, that's not enough to bring major change towards Cardano's DeFi growth or its TVL or contribute towards ADA's price. And a protocol at number 12 with a total TVL of 1.7 million, how much difference can this make? The point isn't what Strike is doing and what impact Strike protocol is going to have on DeFi, but if this exact thing is implemented on ADA's staking mechanism. Because what we have with ADA is native liquid staking. So when you stake or delegate your ADA to stake pools, you keep custody of your ADA tokens. They're not locked up in smart contracts. You still keep them in your wallet. You can transfer them at any time. You can sell them at any time without slashing for delegators or anything. And that is pretty good because it's liquid staking. Your tokens are not locked up and you still earn almost 2.8 to 4.5% rewards on your ADA. Now that's pretty amazing, but the problem is, as soon as you use these ADA tokens in DeFi protocols, your staking rewards, they either stop completely or they're reduced significantly. So if you want to use your ADA tokens in DeFi protocols, you have to give up the native staking rewards. And people don't want to do that. And that is why almost 60% of ADA's supply is in native ADA staking. So 60% of ADA supply is staked. People are earning rewards on it. But the problem is because they're staked over there, they're not being put into use in DeFi protocols. They're just sitting idly in wallets. And that is the problem. You want movement of these assets, you want more transactions. And that's how the ecosystem can grow. That's how you can have a better on chain liquidity. But that's not what's happening here. Now, we had one blockchain that was in a similar position, that was Ethereum. And they had a much worse staking mechanism in a way that in Ethereum, if you wanted to stake, you would have to lock up your tokens. And this was happening before 2020. So I'm going to show you guys what happened here. So before December 2020, if anyone wants to stake their Ethereum tokens, they would have to lock their Ethereum tokens, and then they earn staking rewards. But something happened in December 2020, which if we see the chart of the TVL in DeFi for Ethereum, and we go towards December 2020, you'll see it right here. And just after this very month, the DeFi TVL of Ethereum, it exploded. It went from almost 13 billion to almost 105 billion, almost you can say 8 times increase. So how did this happen? First thing is, since you have to lock up your Ethereum tokens to stake, most people don't do that. If they're getting a better yield in DeFi protocols, they're going to go for it. So Ethereum doesn't exactly incentivize people to stake Ethereum on the blockchain. Cardano does. They incentivize people to stake ADA because they have native liquid staking. You don't lose custody of your ADA tokens, and that's why 60% of the supply is staked. And that makes Cardano one of the most secure blockchains. But the problem is, since all of these tokens are staked, and if they get used in DeFi protocols, all these people lose the staking rewards. They don't actually use them in DeFi protocols, and that's why we have a very minute TVL. Now, in December 2020, what happened was one protocol was launched that was called Lido. So what Lido offered was that people who wants to stake their Ethereum will use Lido, and when they do that, they would stake their Ethereum, the Ethereum will get locked up, and Lido will provide receipt tokens to these stakers. And that was something called ST-ETH. Now users can use these ST-ETH or receipt tokens in DeFi protocols. Now what they're getting is they're getting the staking rewards for staking Ethereum that is locked up, but they can use the receipt tokens in DeFi protocols and they can earn extra yield on it. And that changed everything. So Lido is the #1 protocol on Ethereum right now with $21 billion of TVL, which is almost 40% of the entire Ethereum TVL. And this also contributes towards other TVLs of other protocols that we have. So one protocol changed everything for this whole blockchain. And that is something that we can have on Cardano, because like I said before, 60% of ADA's supply is in native liquid staking, and it's not being used in DeFi protocols. That 60% supply is about 22 billion ADA. And in US dollars, that is almost $5 billion. Now, if we get a protocol similar to Lido on Cardano that offers native ADA staking, which we already have, but you can use ADA in DeFi protocols without giving up your ADA staking rewards. And if that happens, obviously that 60% of the supply that is sitting idly just getting staking rewards, obviously they would want to earn more yield on their tokens. They will start putting that money into DeFi protocols on Cardano. And if all of that flows into Cardano DeFi, that is almost $5.5 billion. Right now, we have a TVL of $131 million. So $131 million and $5.5 billion, that is a massive difference, and that can change everything for Cardano. Now, I am preparing for the other video where I discuss that Cardano's greatest strength is actually its weakness, because Cardano always prioritized security and research over everything else. And because of this, you can see Cardano is very secure. Ethereum, on the other hand, not so much. We just had multiple exploits over these years, billions of dollars lost in hacks, in exploits. We had that Kelp DAO exploit. People lost millions of dollars. We had Ethereum wallets that were drained. I think this news was just 1 or 2 weeks ago. And this is a common occurrence in Ethereum. And you don't have that in Cardano. You're probably never going to have that in Cardano because it is one of the most secure blockchains. I mean, you have 60% of the entire supply in staking, and all these tokens that are in staking, they're eventually validating the whole blockchain to make it the most secure. I'm not saying that you remove these staked ADA and put them into DeFi. I'm saying have a protocol just like we have Lido on Ethereum that offers liquid staking. So you put ADA in staking, so they keep validating the transactions to keep the blockchain secure, but you get receipt tokens that you can use in DeFi protocols, so you can have an amplified growth of Cardano DeFi, which is one of the biggest and major catalyst towards ADA's price. Because if you have more DeFi growth, if you have more transactions in these D apps, in these protocols, all these are going to use ADA as fees. And once all this capital flow towards Cardano's DeFi, more builders would want to develop and deploy their applications on Cardano. So we'll get more growth towards these builders, more growth in terms of usage, and that will change everything for Cardano. Our TVL won't lag behind other blockchains' TVLs. The price of ADA won't lag behind other blockchains, native tokens, which, by the way, right now almost every token is in the same situation. So it's not just ADA. Other tokens are facing almost the same thing. So it's not about the price in these current markets. But Cardano's DeFi won't be a factor to hold back ADA's price anymore. So that's why this very news about this, which it does have a small direct impact on Cardano's DeFi, but it's about the mechanism that they are using is what we want to be deployed towards ADA's staking. And that will change everything. So yeah, that's my take on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and you can expect the video to come out in a few days. And yeah, I look forward to your feedback. And I'll see you guys in the next video shortly. So stay tuned.